Rising. This is the Straight Talk Morning Show on the Straight Talk Network. My name is Andre Hill. I'm your host, and we have a full panel. We're bringing the knowledge today, man. This is the wake up, really wake up everybody. At the top left of the screen, we have the chairman up in Detroit, Michigan. Chairman, how's the weather and what's going on in Detroit?
Oh, the weather's great. We've got 71 degrees right now, but it's probably going to be in the 80s. Beautiful sunny day. I looked out, I couldn't see a cloud in the sky. So that makes me feel wonderful.
Yeah, all right. Also, we have in the top right of my screen, Mama Khalid up in right outside of Atlanta, Georgia, near the home place where I bought my first house in Red Oak. How you
In
doing,
Red
Mama?
Oak. Yeah, wow.
Yeah,
I'm right here at very close to Red Oak.
yeah, man. I started the first time we came to your compound. I started noticing the streets. I said, "Wow, this looks familiar." And sure enough, it said Red Oak as we were coming. So anyway, how things going up there in the Atlanta area?
Yeah, everything's pretty good. I'm enjoying the weather, though it's getting very hot. It's getting very hot.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're
But
gonna talk about that
I'm
process.
working and trying my best to get things in balance. We need balance.
Absolutely. All right.
Mhm.
So also we have Shaz Mendez down in the Fort West Palm Beach area. How you doing, Shaz?
It's on mute.
I'm sorry. I had you on mute. Can you repeat, please?
So how things going in West Palm Beach?
Oh, but right now I'm in Fort Lauderdale, in Hot Lauderdale.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to West Palm Beach this evening.
Okay.
But it's fine. I just came outside. You can hear the cars. Um, and this is a residential street, but somebody decided they were going to just speed like they're on the 95. Yeah, but it feels okay out here now. It's not as hot as when I came out yesterday, but I'm sure it's probably gonna get hotter.
Okay.
Everything is fine. Everything is everything.
All right. All right. Well, we're gonna get this show started. I did a promo on Friday about today's topics, but I started it off with earthquakes, floods, heat, and fires. And it seems like Mother Earth is starting to scratch off this parasite. So, there have been prophecies about these particular events. And, from in my perspective, I think this is being repeated all over the universe. Every time a species get to this point where they're being tested by a subspecies that mutated from the original species, and then they're thrown in the pot and they're not up to standards of the original, the aboriginals of the planet. So they have to do kind of dirty, low down, thieving things to survive or to maintain the illusion of white supremacy. Now, that's my thought. Kelly, what do you think is going on with all the heat, the earthquakes, and floods and fires?
Well, you know that, first of all, I want to greet everyone and say, Grand Rising, wonderful time, actually, wonderful time to be alive. Because what we are seeing is, the shift. We keep hearing about the shift. And what it is the earth getting ready or is in the process of actually changing the North Pole. Okay? Now, we're not quite sure how far this is going to go. As far as it going to flip 180 degrees, or is it going to just choose another North Star, for us to guide? Right now, the magnetic North Pole is over Russia instead of over Greenland. And so what that is that, it's messing with the plates, the tectonic plates. And this is prophesied because, as you know, the pole shifts every 12,000 years. And of course, the Anunnaki return every 12,000 years. I'm pretty sure that the chairman is going to he's going to give us an update on that. Yes. So, yes, it is true. We had all those earthquakes a couple of days ago.
Yeah,
Uh-huh. All around the Ring of Fire. That's around the Pacific. What was it? Philippines, Japan. Japan
Japan
had serious earthquake.
earthquakes.
And then there at Venezuela, which is on the East Coast, but is right there at the Panama Peninsula. And then California, a couple of places in California and Washington State. And so what we're looking at is Mother Earth, honey, she's trembling and she's getting ready to change all kinds of stuff. And what we know is that she's changing our consciousness as well.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So that's what I have to say about that.
All right. Well, Chairman, you've been on this planet a few years longer than me. So, what's your take in all these changes?
Well, we've always had earthquakes, volcanoes erupting, and right now we're going through a lot of fireballs. It's like meteors that are coming into our globe. Some are reaching residential areas, where in Texas, one went through a lady's house and through the roof, and I guess it's worth a lot of money. But it's just very unusual to have as many as we're having. And you had mentioned earlier, did Three Eye Atlas have anything to do with these fireballs? And it's sort of pointing in that direction because of, like I say, it's a phenomenal, it's just really not the same. We could expect it to happen periodic, but to have 3 and 4 in a month, that's really scary, and they're different sizes that are, coming because you're seeing it in the daytime, it's flashing. And we just hope it don't hit a populated area because it could take a lot of people out, but it's just something that happens, and we just hope it don't be a regular situation because it could be very dangerous for humanity.
Absolutely. All right. So, hey, Shaz, can you give your Trinidadian perspective from what the Caribbeans, how they see this? Because your home country is just a few miles from Venezuela. What kind of feedback are you getting back?
So Trinidad is about 7 miles from Venezuela at its closest point. And according to my son, he says no one that he knows felt the earthquake or felt an aftershock or anything. And you're talking about 2 earthquakes that were literally seconds apart, 38 seconds apart, 7.5 and a 7.7. And for them to not have felt it in Trinidad, that is kind of weird. And it makes me feel more so that this is manipulated, that it's man-made, that it was, manufactured somewhere to destroy Venezuela, because they want to get to that oil. And I don't put anything past the Caucasoids to destroy an entire country so they can grab what they have. The same with the Cuban earthquakes. A couple of weeks ago, there were 2 earthquakes 2 days apart. And again, they found oil off the coast of Cuba in 2009. So I don't know. I also know that Mother Nature will find a way to regain her balance. And if that's shaking up and dancing to get people off their back, or I don't know. But the fact that they didn't feel this in Trinidad is really making me wonder, because, I go back to 2000 and 10 when they had the um, earthquake. I call it the fake quake in Haiti. That was so bad that they had a tsunami warning that went out for tsunami warning for the Bahamas, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, of course, Jamaica, all right, and some other islands, okay? But they called off the tsunami warning in like 30 minutes. They said, oh, the tsunami warning is off. But geographically, it could take up to 4 to 5 days for a tsunami to hit land. So how do they know that there wasn't going to be a tsunami? How did they know to call it off so soon? And then earthquakes usually cause cracks and craters. I mean, cracks and shifts. But in the case with Venezuela, they were craters. It was a big crater, a huge crater, right? And that's not normal for an earthquake. That was if something was dropped there, to create that crater. And then I found out, doing my research back then, that they actually have um, a HARP headquarters in Puerto Rico. So there's a HARP headquarters in Puerto Rico and there's a HARP headquarters in Alaska. And they have been experimenting with natural disasters over the years because they thought they could use that as a way to win wars. And they did the first time they used anything from HARP, where they were using sound frequency, was with Manuel Noriega, when they were outside playing rock music at a particular frequency to get him out of the palace because they couldn't get in. And then I know they had also used it during the war with Afghanistan, where they created an earthquake. So,
Yes, yes,
Also, Haiti. What about Haiti when they had
yeah,
that
that's what I just
earthquake?
said with Haiti in 2009, with Haiti,
Yeah,
2010.
that was a big
Yeah,
one.
yeah, but it was a crater. It wasn't even a crack. It wasn't cracks and shifts. That earthquake was actually a crater. So that was, that's when my suspicion, arose, because I said, no, I got to find out more about this. And then that's when I discovered that HARP is located in Puerto Rico, which is pretty close to Haiti.
Hmm.
So they could do anything.
all right. Well, Mama Kali, you had a final comment on this particular issue?
Yes, yes. I like the name she called it, a fake quake. Because it's pretty much, it looks like that is what they just created a few days ago. I was reading from one of these geopolitical platforms just a couple of days ago that there's so much activity in the Antarctic related to what seems to be those heart energies that create all of this havoc all over, weather havoc all over the world. And so, yeah, I think a lot of them are fake quakes. I like that. I like that very much.
And if I may add to that, like I had a friend that works with the United States government. He was ex-military, and he had a contract that had him based in Antarctica. And I saw pictures with him walking around in shorts and t-shirts. As cold as it is in Antarctica, they had some system that they use, some geothermal something that made the weather like 75 degrees all the time. He said they had hurricane force winds every day, but none of the tents, they're living in tents, none of the tents blew down. So they know how to do that. Another thing I was discussing with Chief the other day is, like, when we were growing up, if you in our age group, and I'm sure in yours as well, Mother Kali, there was what did we have? Antarctica and Arctica. Remember, Arctica was in the north and Antarctica was in the south. Now there is no visibility of Antarctica. They don't discuss it. You go to do any search, people have me looking like I'm crazy. I have to go back to talk to my school friends. I see, remember when we were learning geography, there was Antarctica, but it's not there. And they're like, what are you talking about, Shaz? It has to be there. It's not there. So is that one of those places that they're now hiding to claim as
Yes.
theirs?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because if I was getting ready to point out the fact, a few years ago, I traveled to Washington, D.C. for the disclosure conference that Stephen Greer held. And there was a particular contractor that worked in Antarctica. And he just happened, the United States government have a compartment matrix. They don't let the next man know what the other man is doing. But he had a particular position where he worked with the air conditioning system. So he had to go into all the compartments. And he ascertained concluded that there was a system in place, and this technology was given to them by extraterrestrials. And he said that there were several antennas, which is similar to the HARP system. And it was also a laser system that fired off into space. Now, I looked at this guy, and, it didn't make sense for him to be lying. He was very, very specific about this technology. And then he explained that at one time they fired this equipment up, and it caused an earthquake in the northern hemisphere of the planet. So I'm quite sure they have synchronized it. And I just wanted to remind you that this is a program, and these ETs, they're low frequency, but they're not going to give them the premier technology, but they just give them enough to keep running this program of chaos and destruction if we don't come together and stop it. The program is going to keep running. If we sit back, I'm afraid, I'm going to lose my good government job, I'm going to lose this, and you're going to lose it anyway. Hey, man, play this. I'm trying to consolidate our thinking process, but go ahead and play this video. I want to give them some insight here.
Did I not see this? That Africans and African Americans are two distinct people. Now I'm going to say some, because some are actually descendants from Africa and they come here, and so they're called African Americans. And there are some that are called African Americans here that are actually native to the Americas. Many quote unquote Black or African Americans are actually native to the land here in the United States. While some were shipped over here during the slave trade, there were already quote unquote Black people here. They were already here in the Americas. According to the National Museum of the American Indian, Black natives exist. We are indigenous people of the Americas and the Caribbean. You know that guy that claimed he discovered America? Yeah, he did not discover anything, because there were already people here. Black people were present in the Americas prior to Christopher Columbus and prior to the transatlantic slave trade. We've been told at least my whole life, that Christopher Columbus actually discovered America. However, over the last 2.5 decades, since the 500-year anniversary of Christopher Columbus' first voyage across the Atlantic, there has been a significant shift in how Columbus is viewed, with historians now describing him as a brutal conqueror. This article goes on to say, over the past decades, scholars have also argued that a number of early voyages to the Americas preceded Columbus's first voyage. In his book, They Came Before Columbus, published in 1976, Ivan argued that quote-unquote Africa.
Okay, so all right, so here's something we need to pay attention to. People, listen, to our viewers. Most likely you are aboriginal to this land. And these individuals they've known this. As a matter of fact, they've been suppressing this knowledge for a very long time. So this is what I'm asking you. Go to uaaranation.org, look at our page, and then go to the site that talks about your status correction. Even if you send $15, my son, he works with the status correction. It's not about the money at this point, it's about the collective. Once we get a group of people on the same frequency, and our mindset will shut these demons down. The minute the numbers start to build up, they'll say, oh, they are waking up. If only 5 or 10 of you just, they say, they're Goyas, that's what they refer to as that. They are afraid, and we're going to run the tables on. Now, me, Mama Kali, the chairman, Shaz, and my son, we've been coming on this station for years now to try to wake you up to how we're going to work this. And the only way it's going to be done is when we demonstrate we ain't afraid of these weak ass demons. We know we have authority over them as a collective, only as a collective. I can't be the chief or the emperor. I can't do it. The chairman, Mama Kali. We know that it requires us to come together. So go to the website and just start the process. If you have the money to get the full status correction, fine. If you don't, my son is very lenient to, even as a Capricorn. He will work with you. But we have to start this process, and we got a clothing line coming out very soon. And when you wear the clothing line, it sends a message to those demons. They are really waking up, and we're going to have to shut this program down. They're already planning to go down below the ground and to the North Pole, because they're looking for places to hide. So, but they're anticipating that shows like this is waking the people up, but you got to confirm it. So go to the UAARnation.org. Just sign up. Let us know you're alive. You're waking up to this, and you don't want your children put in a meat grinder, because that's what they're planning for. They're demons. They have no other option. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead on. Hey man, can you load up Mama Kelly's with Trump talking about the healing juice? And so so Mama Kelly is going to go into Ibogaine and talk about that a little more. But here's what she was talking about last week, and this is what Trump is trying to do. Go ahead and play it.
Ibogaine. Remember the name. Is that pronounced relatively properly, would you say? I don't want to get it wrong. Ibogaine, because it's so important, and experienced an 80 to 90% reduction in symptoms of depression and anxiety within 1 month. Can I have some, please? I'll take some. I'll take whatever it takes. I don't have time to be depressed. If you stay busy enough, maybe that works too. That's what I do.
Hey, Mama Khalid, give us the correct pronunciation and what we can do with treating our people, because we got a serious mental health problem. We still go into churches. We still believe that these so-called community active organizations are going to save us. And a lot of us are waiting on Jesus, and it ain't going to happen. Mom Kelly, what do you think about all this?
Okay, it's called Ibogaine. Ibogaine, not Ibogaine, but Ibogaine, like the Igbo people. Ibogaine, although the plant from which this synthetic Ibogaine is derived, the botanical name is Tabernanthe iboga. And it has been used by the indigenous people of Gabon, which is a small oil-rich country on the west coast of Africa, right there at the bight of Benin, where that little curve comes in. And the people have used that plant for communicating with their ancestors, who guide them and teach them about their ancestral traits and so forth. And so now that they have a synthetic, which it It does. I don't know what they have now, but I do remember and recall the original person who had that patent for ibogaine. At that time, back in the late 80s, it was a street drug. And this is how the guy got a hold of it. It was out there with LSD and DMT and so forth. And he somehow got the patent after he was healed. Okay, because he was one of those guys living in Long Island, I believe, who had a very heavy addiction to heroin. But then when he took the ibogaine, that next day he had no desire for heroin.
Wow.
Okay, so you know what an addiction to the opiates is like. It'll lead you to commit all kinds of inconsistencies, all kind of crime and everything, because your body is praying for this drug. It has to have that drug just to calm down. Well, this guy, his name was Howard Lotsoff, and when he realized that he had no desire for drugs, okay, or heroin, then he tried it on some of his friends, and they had the same result. They no longer had the desire. Now, what President Trump is saying is that now, 40 years later, because this is a plant that my husband and I wrote about in a book published in 1988. We wrote about this, and this is how the young man called Howard found out about us, and we became friends, and we got to know him and so forth. But now they have, for 40 years later, they have this drug that they have been using on the synthetic drug that they have been using on soldiers who had traumatic brain injuries. That's what they call. And many soldiers who are in a deep depression and just can't function in life. And so they're saying that now they've been experiment with this drug, ibogaine, now for a couple of years, and they have determined that these traumatic brain injuries, are gone. Depression is gone, anxiety is gone. The people can get to the soldiers, they can get up and, live a normal life. Okay. And so this is what this drug that they have is doing. And what President Trump said was that they have funded, they have put money in Health and Human Services, and FDA has approved for the creation of clinics. Now, talk about us. I was just reading an article the other day about how our young Aboriginal men, boys and men, are so depressed that many are committing suicide. Well, I don't know how true this is because there's a whole lot of disinformation out there. But think about it. We all know that one of the reasons why we can't get together is because of post-traumatic slave syndrome. We are physically, mentally, and emotionally compromised right now. All of us. I'm not, I got problems too. All of us do. Because the oppression is so heavy and constant. Here in America, we suffer daily. I was taking my granddaughter to work the other day, and a policeman, drove up behind me, and everything is legal, I mean, I got my car is okay, license, everything, all of that. But I jumped. I don't know if you guys actually have that experience, and don't let no light be going on. You know what I mean? I mean, that is the kind of everyday terror that we experience. And then you got all these folks out here, hating on us in our own land, and they are all immigrants. They don't belong here. But they feel like they can come in and kick us around and demand our money. So my suggestion, because for us to come together, we've got to get rid of a whole lot of dark stuff within. Now, meditation, proper diet, exercise, all of those things are good, but they take time. And the thing about this Ibogaine is that it works almost immediately. I don't know what kind of Ibogaine they have now, because the one that I knew about 40 years ago, it was overnight. But, they get a hold of something and they start taking components out and this and that and the other.
Yeah.
And so you don't know what you have, but those clinics are funded. And we need to be the ones to stand in line and demand it for our communities. That's the message that I continue to talk to people. I call the elders, I call people, the doctors that I know, people that are in the medical community. And I tell them, hey, look, we need to be going after this. We need to establish these clinics in our communities. We need to go for it. They've already said that the funding is there. But even some of the people that I know, and they're not ready to do that or see that. I mean, like some of the older people, like they feel like, well, I've been talking I talked to one sister, she's been talking for 81 years. Well, that's my age. So she says she's tired of talking. Well, I get that, because I'm tired of talking too. But I don't know what it's going to take to wake our people up to the fact that we're at home. We're not going to be deported. All kind of disinformation is out about, y'all gonna be next. They can't send us anywhere. We would have been the first ones to go if they could.
Absolutely.
But then there are too many of us who really know who we are, and that we are home, and we need to demand that we get all of our assets back. And the most important thing for us to do now is to get our minds and our hearts and our spirits clean. We need to do that. And I personally believe, and knowing the original plant, I personally believe that this is one thing that would really help us to get along. Once you have those addictions are not, following you every day, forcing you to do things that you would not normally do, then once you have that off your back, what they used to call somebody, they got a monkey on their back. Remember back in the day,
Yes.
that's the way they used to describe it. You got a monkey on your back. Well, that ain't no fun. And it's not just drug addictions. We got all kinds of addictions. And in this process of going through the Ibogaine treatment, you confront that. You confront yourself, not in a terrible way, because everyone who took the Ibogaine that I know of and I've talked to, it's like a very gentle thing. You take it, it's not like LSD or DMT. I don't know if anybody has any experience or ayahuasca or peyote. All of those are hallucinogens, but the Ibogaine, it is a hallucinogen, but it is very, very gentle. The people that I've talked to say when they go under, they meet a relative who guides them. I remember one guy told me that he was playing tennis with his grandfather, and his grandfather told him that what he needed to do to straighten up his life. You see what I'm saying? And so if we can do that, or when, because I'm going to keep on talking about it, because it's something, it's fundamental to our healing. It is fundamental to our coming together in unity, because, hurt people hurt people.
It's true.
And we are a hurt and damaged people.
So Mama Kelly, I can promise you, if the pharmaceutical industry gets hold of this drug and distribute it, it's going to be designed where you have to come back and get treatment over and over again. And no telling when they take certain components out of it, no telling what kind of side effects it's going to have. Within our organization, all of our products and services are biodegradable, non-toxic. We're going to use the original formula to treat our people, to start the mental correction of 400 years of slavery and oppression and white supremacy, what it has done to us. I'm going to tell you, with my 67 years of business experience, from the 60s, the 70s, having a food processing plant shut down, all of a sudden my mother developed cancer. That was well synchronized. The plant I had in Nashville, 63,000. We could have hired hundreds of thousands of our people working and creating natural products and services for our people. But these demons can't allow that, because that kills their mission. So don't think you're going to be a master of the universe and do this on your own. I'm going to do this on the side. No, they ain't going to let you do that. I'm telling you, man. We can only do it as a collective. Hey, Shaz, from your, I know you're a naturalist, and you work with people that have been damaged with the different hair chemicals and alopecia and all of that. Does Ibogaine is in alignment with your thought process, and if so, what other things are you doing, to get our women and our people using natural products again?
Okay, so since 2009, my mission has been to turn glam green and take the pain out of beauty, one strand at a time. You know, speaking about addictions, a lot of people don't even realize that people are addicted to chemical relaxers. I think it's an addiction because as much damage as it causes to them physically that they could see, right? And you will try to educate them to tell them it's doing things inside of your body that you can't see. Some people are like, I can't live without my relaxer, and I call it creamy crack. But I have had my clients on a natural and organic path since 2009. You could get all of these alternatives without having to use a chemical. Because some women want to be natural, but they want to have, but I should say, they want to have options in terms of how they're going to style their hair. They might want to be straight today. They might want to wear braids tomorrow, locks the next day. That's a prerogative. But they didn't realize that they could obtain a lot of these straight looks without getting a chemical, and it doesn't have to be a commitment, and it's nothing permanent. But even when you talk to the clients, what they were risking their lives for, like you said before, is because of their job. They're scared to lose their job. I'm like, what you mean? You can't wear your hair natural to work? Well, yeah, because they say I have to look professional to fit into corporate. I'm like, who told you that? My supervisor. So what does your supervisor look like? It's always somebody Black that's telling them that.
Yep.
Always a Black female that's coming to tell them, oh, you need to look more professional. You need to do something with your hair. So well, our hair grows up and out like a crump. That's natural for us. I said they're gonna tell Becky that she needs to change her hair from growing down and straight, and she can't wear it natural like that. But I'm always willing to go to court. I'm saying that's a lawsuit, and I will go in there as an expert witness. Because at that time, I am realizing that 100% of my new clients, this was after coming out of retirement for the first time, I was like on 2.5, I just better call it a hiatus at this point in time, because it's 3 times I'm coming out of retirement. But 100% of the new clients that I saw, 100% had hair and or scalp issues on my client data profile, because I have them to do a consultation and we're taking notes. All of my Black clients, my melanin dominant clients, whether they were African American, whether they were Caribbean, African, I didn't care where they were from, 100% of them had that issue. They were having either fibroid tumors, or they didn't have all of the ailments at the same time, but some of them had fibroid tumors, polycystic ovaries, fibrocystic breasts, migraine headaches, unable to get pregnant. If they did get pregnant, they had short-term pregnancies. If they had the baby, they couldn't breastfeed their babies. Okay, you have all of these issues that were going on with them. They had irregular menstrual cycles. So sometimes some people had a menstrual cycle once or twice a year. The one thing they had in common was that they were all relaxing their hair like every 4 to 6 weeks for the past 20 years.
Ooh.
I also noticed that the young girls that I was seeing that I assumed were 15, 16, and 17 were only 9, 10, and 11 years old. And so the argument amongst my team in the salon, when I would bring it up, I said, I'm noticing this problem with the kids. They're curvaceous, they have big breasts, hips, butt, and they're looking like fully developed women. And, the argument was that it's the hormones. I said, the hormones. They said, well, the hormones in the food. I said, well, the little Black boys eating the same unhealthy meal from the same unhappy place. So are the white kids, and so are the Hispanic kids. Why are we not seeing those problems with those children? Why are we not seeing the same problems with my white and my Hispanic clients? My white clients are complaining that when they go to the pool, their blonde hair turned green. And the Hispanic clients are saying, oh, when you color my hair red and I go to the ocean, my hair, the color oxidizes. All of their problems were cosmetics and ours was systemic. So even though I would have said I wasn't a scientist, I wasn't a doctor, but this was just based on my professional observation with these amount of years that I had in this industry, that I wasn't seeing it with my clients that I was doing before. This was all new clients. And the problem was a lot of the hairstylists were not protecting the client's scalp. They were going in there with a harsh chemical. Sodium hydroxide is harsh. Any type of hydroxide is harsh. And they were not protecting their scalps. And therefore I tell them, if you go to a hairstylist and she puts some gloves on and she doesn't protect your scalp, you need to leave. Because your scalp is your skin, is entering your body, and sodium hydroxide never stops working. 20 years from now, you have ailments that you didn't realize was from the relaxer. And the black parents were using, or the mothers were using relaxers, the little kitty kit in their daughter's hair from the time she was like 2 years old. And there's this story that I had with this woman that came to the shop one day with her baby, 6 months old boy, a baby boy, with a plastic cap on his head. And she's like, "Oh, can you rinse this out for me?" I'm like, "What is that?" She had put an S curl in her baby's hair. 6 months old. I said, his brain, his cranium hasn't even fused together yet. And you put this chemical on your baby. I'm like, "Why would you do this?" She said, "Oh, I don't want to see it to be nappy like his daddy's."
So
I would love to know what happened.
Self-hatred.
Yes, and these kids, she self-hated, but she didn't hate the father enough not to lay down with him to have a nappy-headed baby. I don't understand it. But anyway, the thing is, people don't understand these chemicals are affecting our kids' motor skills. They can't eat. They don't even know they're 2 times table. It takes them a long time to be able to decipher things. And I believe it has a lot to do with the chemicals. So
Yeah.
my mission has always been to educate the woman. It's education that they're lacking. If you educate them on the reality of what these things are causing, then they can make an educated decision. They can make an informed decision. If you still want to commit suicide, I don't offer those services. You could go someplace else.
So
You
Shaz,
know?
so we're gonna end up doing a show on like a Wednesday on this because this is very serious. You're gonna be in the Tampa Bay area next week. If people want to get an appointment with you for special consultation, how can they reach you?
They can reach me at 954-607-8067. That's 954-607-8067.
All right. Okay. So, hey man, set up that other video. So,
They can check out my Instagram as well. It's on the Shaz Unlimited.
okay.
Okay, that's SHAZZ Unlimited.
All right. Well, so you're gonna be in the Tampa Bay area. So anybody in the Tampa Bay area you want to meet with Shaz, now's the call. She's gonna be booked up. So call us quickly so she can line you up, set you an appointment. Hey, Chairman, we got to get ready for the disclosure. We got
Excuse me, Chief. Don't forget to show the garments, our branding.
Oh, you mean the clothing line?
The clothing line. And
Okay. Okay. So
Okay.
we may show it after the chiefs, after the chairman. Chairman, yeah, man, this non-disclosure issue. This is an interesting video. Go ahead and play it, man.
The UFO disclosure is not what you think. You are watching everyone cheer because Donald Trump is threatening to declassify the UFO files. You think the establishment is panicking. You think it's a massive victory for truth. You are actually watching a masterclass in psychological capture. I'm going to reveal the exact classified extraterrestrial psychological operation they are rolling out right in front of your eyes. But before I expose the endgame of this fake invasion, you must first understand the exopolitical reality of the man delivering the message. Listen to me. Is the government telling the truth that these crafts exist? Yes. Is the entire mainstream disclosure movement a meticulously engineered psyop? Absolutely. If you study the foundational exopolitical research of Ashiana Dean or the subquantum physics of W.R. Schoch, you discover a very uncomfortable truth. Trump is not a glitch in the Matrix. He operates as a proxy for a specific off-world faction, the Pleiadian Anunnaki, sometimes called the Tall Whites or the Olympians. They are currently waging a multi-dimensional turf war against the Draco reptilian deep state. They are not fighting to set you free. They are fighting over who gets to act as the landlord of the human energy farm. So, why the sudden rush to talk about UFOs and non-biological entities? David Icke has warned us about this specific agenda for decades. It is the final phase of Project Bluebeam. You know it and I know it. They've spent 50 years conditioning your mind with Hollywood movies, fake alien abduction narratives, and controlled Pentagon whistleblowers. The plan is to manufacture an alien threat or a staged benevolent rescue using ultra-real holographic projections, atmospheric plasma tech, and advanced black budget military drones that they want you to think are from another galaxy. But why go through all the trouble of faking a space war? Because the real invasion is always done through consent. They cannot take your soul by force. They need you to be terrified of the sky, or so desperate for a savior from the Galactic Federation that you willingly hand over your sovereignty to a centralized, AI-driven global authority. They want you begging for their digital IDs, their surveillance, and their transhumanist brain chips, all under the disguise of interstellar safety. For the human revival, here is your override code. There is no external savior coming. The political messiahs, the disclosure agents, the channeled ascended masters, they are all false light traps designed to harvest your emotional energy. What consciousness pioneer Robert Monroe called loosh. The ultimate threat to their synthetic matrix isn't weapons. It is your biology. You possess the organic blueprint of the 12-strand diamond sun DNA. If you detox the heavy metals blocking your antenna, regulate your...
Okay, Chairman, what do you think
Wow.
about all this?
Wow. That was deep. That was real deep, real good. I mean, he goes way back, you know, especially talking about the Palladians and those that are trying to take over. You know, like he said, they're trying to put fear in us. You know, they want you to fear so they can just smoothly come in and take over. But it's not going to happen because there are many different groups of extraterrestrials. And you got the rogue ones that would like to come over and take over and, you know, be like in the slave trade days, you know, where they could get you to do whatever they want you to do. But the real good extraterrestrials, they're not going to allow that to happen. You know, they can't. They got to be fair. We're dealing with a universal force, not just an earthly force that are out there that are trying to manipulate us. You know, it's got to be right. You know, it's got to be righteous. It's got to be fair. And it's going to be, you know, but it's good to hear a person like him come on and explain things the way he explained it, what's really going on, because a lot of people just don't know. They're afraid, you know, and you have nothing to be afraid of, because if you're afraid, then you're going to do whatever someone tell you to do, whether it's right or wrong, you know, and we're smarter than that. We've got to come together. It's like a lot of people don't know, but Stevie Wonder just moved to Ghana and got his passport, you know, and he's sort of fed up with a lot of things that are happening in the United States, you know, because he's smarter than the average person with eyes. I'd say way smarter, you know, and he wants to, you know, make things right. But I guess there's something that he see over in Africa that he can be more expressive and probably bring us together from a different perspective, you know. But I really like what the guy was talking about because it's so true, so true. It's a con game being played, and they want to control us. You know, they want to control us by the food, get us sick by the food. You know, this fog that we get, with certain things that we eat, we don't realize, and they're not telling us. Because if it was that easy, they would give it to us and it wouldn't cost us nothing. It'd be doing something in a humane way to help people, but they're not. It's all about control, and I'll land that plane.
All right. Well, those will be your final thoughts. Mama Kali, your final thoughts for the show and that particular video.
Okay, let me say something about the video. I think the guy was right on, right on point, trying to let us know that there are PSYOP operations going on around this so-called disclosure. Okay, but the thing about it is they can't win. They can't win, even if it's 100 of us who are awake enough to challenge that. With divine unity among men and women in our group, our ethnic group, our Aboriginal American group, even if it's 100 of us who move forward with our mind power and the power of our soul and our hearts, we can overcome, you see. But we're divided on so many issues.
Yes.
And that is the reason why we need a healing very fast. I know that you just talk about you only want natural products, okay? All right. Go over to Gabon and see if you can get the natural product. But it's not going to be easy. That family over there has been in charge for what, 80 years, or if not 100? They are positioned to work for the West, okay, in Gabon, and it's not far from Ghana. Having lived in Ghana, I can say, and I lived there for a long time, many years, and I visited many other times other than the time that they are peaceful people. It's right there on the coast. Their weather in the summertime is much better than ours because it's rainy season and it doesn't get as hot, especially on the coast. I'm sure that Stevie Wonder is looking at building on the coast of Ghana because that is one of the best. I personally had a little cottage on the coast, and I know how pleasant it was. As far as living in foreign countries right now, I don't recommend it for so many reasons, which would take quite a bit of time to explain. But let's say that we can overcome any problem through unity.
Yes.
And not pulling each other down. Support each other. What Shaz was saying about, the women's problems and trying to keep their job because some Negro woman, usually a Divine Nine who's in charge, tells them that it's not professional to have your own hair. It's because that offends white women.
Wow.
That's the bottom line. So I hope we stop pulling each other down and support each other more and look at what we are all saying. Look at it. Take it into your heart. Okay?
All right.
And like Chairman says, I'll land that plane.
Thank you much, Mama Kali. Hey, Shaz, you have any closing statements before I shut this thing down?
It's on mute.
Actually, no, I don't. I'm looking forward to coming to Tampa. I'm looking forward to meeting all these beautiful women, just so we can address their issues and resolve it. I'm a resolutionist, so there's no job that's too challenging for me. I can help them. I look forward to that.
Absolutely. So next Saturday, we're going to show, we have a clothing line coming out. It's going to be closer to our launching date. So next Saturday, we give you a view of these clothing, of the clothing line. And by wearing it, it demonstrates solidarity. So be sure to tune in next Saturday. And we're going to show you how we're going to be looking sharp. And we're going to demonstrate that we know by coming together as a collective. We done tried everything. We done tried Islam, the Christianity, the Catholic Church, all the religions, the NAACP, the ACLU. We've tried all that, and we are still being eliminated, and our children are being prepared to be fed to a meat grinder. So once again, I say this over whenever I go and speak. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. All you critical thinkers, let's get involved. We need elders in this organization. This is not a church tripping dictatorship. This is an organization of balance. So we need the elders. The elders will be respected. We need you to come get with this program and help guide our children to keep them from being fed to the meat grinder, because these demons, and especially them reptilian ones, that our children are going to keep disappearing because they eat us. They look at us as food. Keep playing with this and keep dealing with them distorted illusions. This is the real deal, what we're bringing you on the Straight Talk Morning Show. So on that word, all I can say, my son is in the back room in engineering today, so he's preparing to travel, but he'll be on next week. So thank you very much for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you next Saturday. Peace out.